Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. Thanksgiving is now less than a week away, and for many, this year's festivities will look quite different from years past. While families mull new ways to celebrate because of the virus, many are wondering for the first time how they'll put food on the table. Mitch Legan has more on Food Pantry's struggle to keep up with this year's record demand as they head into their busiest time of the year.
It's 3 p.m. on a Wednesday at Pantry 279 in Ellettsville, which means Pantry Director Cindy Chavez is going to be busy for the next couple hours.
So that's our biggest distribution day, which means we're going to put through roughly 200 cars, which will feed usually around 600 people.
In the parking lot, cars are packed bumper to bumper, with some backed up onto State Road 46.
Usually on a Wednesday you feed between 250 people, which is roughly 60, 70 cars, versus now 600.
That's been the case since March. Record numbers of people needing food brought on by the coronavirus pandemic. Before, Pantry 279 would serve about 3,000 people a month. Now, it's 6,000. Things have been so busy that Chavez has had to add hours just to keep up with demand. And the pantry already doubled last year's output by September.
We hit 1.2 million pounds in September, and we haven't even touched Thanksgiving yet.
Hoosier Hills Food Bank, which provides food to organizations such as Pantry 279, finds itself in a similar situation.
Last year was a record for us. It was the first time we ever hit 5 million pounds. And this year we hit 5.2 million pounds by September. So we're running about 44 to 45% ahead of last year's distribution already.
While Hoosier Hills usually focuses on getting food to pantries and other organizations for distribution, the food bank has provided food directly to individuals and surveyed those who came. Alonzo says over 70% of respondents have said the pandemic has affected their ability to get food in some way.
A lot of them indicating that they'd either lost jobs or lost hours, lost childcare, or a lot of seniors were just too much at risk and too afraid of exposure to go out to grocery stores.
But it's almost a straight 50% since the COVID began, is people who have never been to a food pantry before. And you can always tell them their cars tend to be a little bit nicer than everybody else's. They also are very embarrassed. They don't want to look you in the eye when they're asking your name and stuff. They apologize a lot.
Tracy is one person who never thought she'd need Pantry 279.
I mean, 1 week's worth of pay is huge. To a lot of people, like they always talk about people living paycheck to paycheck. Well, it's really true.
She'd moved into a new house with her family right before March. Once the pandemic took hold, sales for her home-based resale business screeched to a halt, and her husband's a barber, so he couldn't work March and April. And customer traffic still isn't the same as it once was.
Some of them are working a second part-time job, but it's not enough to feed the family. They've blown through their savings. So now they have to make a choice. Do we have shelter and heat, or do we have food?
In a brief from October, the nonprofit Feeding America estimated 50 million Americans could become food insecure by the end of the year, up from 35 million before the pandemic. Chavez says she's had people from 26 different counties show up in Ellettsville needing food. Tracy says the pantry has been an invaluable resource as people get back on track.
You got one thing after another that you're thinking about for your family. And if you can just check that one thing off that you don't have to worry about, yeah, it's a huge thing.
That's why Pantry 279 and Hoosier Hills are teaming up today and tomorrow for their biggest Thanksgiving drive to date. Normally, the pantry gives away 1,200 boxes of Thanksgiving staples a year. But with help from Hoosier Hills, the plan is to distribute 2,000 this Thanksgiving, which Chavez says will feed 14,000 to 15,000 people. In total, Hoosier Hills will be providing roughly 4,000 meals to families in the area this Thanksgiving, including through the partnership with 279.
It's been quite an experience for everyone, regardless of what level of society you're at or what you're involved in. So I think it's very important for us as a community, as individuals, to do everything we can to provide light and positivity.
And the work isn't over with Thanksgiving. Things will pick back up come Christmas time. So the food bank will be looking for more community support to help it keep up with all the food it's had to order. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Mitch Legan.
Now, as part of a Thanksgiving challenge, an anonymous donor promised to match donations up to $30,000. the community stepped up and actually surpassed the total by $10,000, bringing Pantry's 279's final Thanksgiving total to more than $70,000. Chavez says the Pantry will put the extra money toward Christmas.